Today I am reading from the book Spirit of Homeopathy, book written by Dr.Rajan Sankaran, chapter number 9, Central Disturbance, second episode. I am starting with last paragraph. I repeat the same paragraph last I read in previous episode. Now, which are those common symptoms that all provers will produce? If you read the Materia Medica Pura in the introduction of Bryannian rust toxicodendron, Hahnemann observed that whoever be the prover, whatever be the symptom, Bryannia will be aggravated from motion and rust tox will be ameliorated by it. These are pure data of observation. Now, another subtitle is mental state versus mental symptom. This means that general modalities are common to all prover. In aphorism 212, we have already read that each remedy produces a mental state in all prover, which is peculiar to the remedy. Whoever be the prover, aconite will produce violence in the mind, stramonium will produce terror, and the pulsatilla will produce a tearful disposition. Hahnemann writes of aconite that it cannot be given to a calm person. So the second thing is remedy produced that is common to all prover is a mental state. Let us understand this mental state a little more. Why did he not write mental symptom? Does a difference exist between mental state and the mental disease? In aphorism 212, Hahnemann says that all patients have a mental state on which a remedy is to be prescribed. That means every patient, whatever he may be suffering from, has a particular mental state. In much later aphorism, Hahnemann talks of the treatment of the mental diseases. He says that mental disease symptoms are one-sided, local disease affecting the mind. Therefore, there would be a symptom and these symptoms will be mental symptom. But they are not important because they are particular symptom, local symptoms and one-sided symptoms. They belongs to the mental disease and no mental state. Mental state is exist in everybody, in every single person. Whatever he is suffering from, eczema or asthma, he will have a mental state and from this state you will select your remedy. I would like to go a little further into this difference. In children, you will get a very prominent mental symptom. If we want to get cases with a fear of dark and being alone of Kalka Kab, we will find it most prominently in the children. If fear of dark and being alone represent an effect, means make a pathology at the level of mind. If they represent a disease of the mind, then we may rate these children as a very much sick because their higher level is affected intensely. Are they really so seriously sick even though they are full of vitality? If the fear of dark and being alone represent the mental state or mental disease, then these children must be the sickest people on the earth. And the person who dying of cancer must be the healthiest if he has only a few mental symptoms. I am trying to point out that having a mental symptom does not necessarily means the mind is affected. Mind is the state which is produced in all disease and in all the prover. In lecture of homeopathy philosophy, Kant mentioned that you will find a Kalkia child who will not have any pathology for many years if you leave the child untreated. Only then will we develop the pathology. That means those initiated symptoms did not represent pathology at level of mind. They represent a state that appeared first and then came the pathology. The state comes first and it will be the last to go. The mental disease comes last in the hierarchy and it should be the first to go. The idea that unless the mental symptom go, the person is not cured is wrong. It is wrong if we think that he is not progressing in the direction of cure. A person comes with a lack of self-confidence and eczema. He says that his eczema is going, but the lack of confidence is still there. What would the interpretation be? The lack of confidence preceded the eczema. The lycopodium state come first and the eczema come later. Just as in the child who is healthy and full of vitality, the calcaire state is there, but the pathology comes later. So, what happened in the proving? In proving, a remedy produces a state of being, a state at the level of mind, and a state at the level of generalities first. Then, depending upon individual susceptibility, it will produce symptom in various organ. Another subtitle is first comes the central disturbance, the affection of part later. The central has the capture first. This is the law of disease. There can be no affection of part without the affection of the whole. There can be no disease in the organ without the central disturbance. Our medicines are potentized. This means that there is no material dose remaining in them. There is no physiological effect. Digitalis has an effect on the heart in physiology, not in homeopathy. In homeopathy, digitalis potentized become a dynamic agent that cause a central disturbance at the level of mind and generalities first. And then there is a tendency to heart trouble, then it will be affected. And if his prostate is susceptible, this will be affected. If his liver is weak, and it will be affected, his liver. And if he has a tendency to insanity, he will become insane. Digitalis is no longer remain a heart remedy. Kant writes that it is one of the best remedy for prostate. Somebody writes that it is good remedy for the liver trouble and jaundice. Somebody else writes the vertigo from hunger is the main symptom of digitalis. Digitalis is not a vertigo, not for the heart and not for the liver or spleen. Digitalis is the dynamic disturbance which is produced in all the prover. Another subtitle, potentized remedy have only dynamic general effect, not a local. Under that, the term local remedy, when it is used for potentized drug, is a misnomer. There is no local remedy when they are potentized. It is clearly written in the organon that remedy has the dynamic effect only. Potentized remedy have dynamic effect only. There is no physiological, no pathological, no organic effect. The only local effect is on the tongue. It tastes sweet, or on olfaction it smells of alcohol. So what is the local affinity of the homeopathic medicine? What is the sphere of action? These points has to be clearly understood. Now another title is particular symptoms depend on susceptibility of prover, hence incomplete. I again read the heading. Particular symptom depends on susceptibility of prover, hence incomplete. A well-proved remedy, if proved further, will give you many particular but not as many more general. All the particular symptoms for which you are searching can be missing. Kali ioditum was not proved nor given as a remedy to the person who had a tendency to leukoderma. Therefore, you missed it, but the craving for motion in open air, bilateral symmetrical affection, and the state of mind with loquacity and jesting were produced in most of the prover. Therefore, if a remedy clearly produced mental and generals, you can assume that remedy would have produced the same particular, means the local effect. But if you see remedy that produce particular, can you assume that it will produce the same mentals and generals? No, impossible, because it had the opportunity and did not produce them. That is why we say the remedy that covers mental and general has got a much greater possibility of curing than one that covers the particular without covering the mental and general. It is the central disturbance that comes first, and then this central disturbance will go and act upon those organs which are more susceptible and will produce the local trouble to which the patient is more susceptible. But with the modus operandi means type of characteristic action of the central disturbance with the central disturbance. For example, if a person is susceptible to gastritis and you prove on him arsenic alb, so arsenic alb will produce all its general symptoms in the stomach. It will produce burning better by warmth. If the same prover takes phosphorus, he will have gastritis with the burning in the stomach better by cold drinks. Another subtitle, modalities represent the central disturbance. So does the modality represent the central disturbance or the pathology. The peculiar modality represents the central disturbance and not the pathology. The peculiar modality will show you who is the culprit, the cause, arsenicum or the phosphorus. Suppose your house is susceptible to robbery and the robber has taken place. Does this information give you the name of the culprit? No. The way in which the act of the robbery was executed will give you the identity of the fellow at the center who is causing all this trouble. The name of pathology will only point to the individual's tendency. What is to be cured in the disease? It is the central disturbance that has to be cured in the disease and not the pathology. That is the secret. I like to compare disease with the mafia. The mafia means organization. We are just assuming that is governing by the certain rules and principle. The first rules of the mafia is only one don can rule at the center. Unless the don controls the central, he cannot act on the periphery. The reverse is not applicable. They will not allow a second godfather to operate the things. There will be only one godfather and he has to control the center. Otherwise, he cannot operate his smuggling and other rockets. This central disturbance is what we have identified in the previous chapter as PNEI disturbance. Once you cure the central disturbance, then its aggravating influence on peripheral pathology will disappear. Once you remove the central disturbance, once you remove the PNEI disturbance, its aggravating influence on the pathology will automatically disappear. If you remove the mafia or boss, all the smuggling and other activity will automatically stop. Try and stop the smuggling locally and nothing will happen. Try to stop the drug racket and it may stop for the time being, but it will come back again. But if you identify the boss and hit him on the head, then everything will stop. As long as you handle particulars as particulars, you will not succeed. The moment you catch the central thread of one remedy, the central thread of the patient's PNEI disturbance, everything will become clear. The other things that become clear is that since there is only one central or the PNEI disturbance, all the four systems must indicate the same remedy state. That means if a person has a mental state, you cannot prescribe on it alone. You must expect a concomitant in the neuroendocrine immunological system too. If you have a nervous symptom, you cannot prescribe on it alone unless there is no contradiction at the level of mind endocrine immunological system. Now another subtitle is Kant's non-pathognomic symptom. Once you understand this, the three of the deadliest confusion and controversy in the homeopathy will disappear. The first is the Kant said that in evaluation of the symptom, write them down in a 2 column all those which are common to the pathology, write on one side, and all those which are not common to the pathology, write on the another side. He called this pathognomic and non-pathognomic symptom. Those symptoms which do not represent pathology are important. Why? Because they represent the central disturbance. That is what he meant. I say, treat the central disturbance. What is its significance? In a local complaint, all those symptoms which do not represent the pathology must belong to the central disturbance. And another subtitle, generalization of the Boger. What did Boger says? Boger said all those symptoms which are characteristic means uncommon. All those modalities which are characteristic, generalize them. They are not local but general. In the case stated earlier, that characteristic of brania was not a local modality because it was peculiar. We can generalize it and take the general modality. List motion aggravate and give a brania. This is the Boger's approach. He generalized the symptoms. What does he means by them? By term generalize, he means that the characteristic of the local are no longer local symptom, but they are the symptom of the central disturbance. We take them as our guide. Another subtitle is concomitant of the Bonning-Hassan. Bonning-Hassan used the term concomitant. What does he means? He means that if you find a particular mental state, you cannot prescribe on it unless you have the concomitant from the another sphere. What he meant was that there is only one disturbance. There cannot be two disturbances, and as there is only one disturbance, the mental state will necessarily have concomitant in other sphere. The same dawn has to be operate everywhere. We have to see no one but the main boss or the him. This is the basis of Bonning-Hassan's doctrine of concomitant. The concomitant is to be totality. What modality is to be symptom? It is the differentiating factor. In the symptom, pain in joint, the modality of the aggravation or amelioration from motion will differentiate remedy. Similarly, in the selecting from two or more remedy with the common symptom in one sphere, the concomitant from another sphere will make the choice clear. Now, one case is there. Here is the example of man age of 23 years. He said, "Doctor, when I drink tea in the morning, the cup falls from my hand." This was his chief complaint. I asked, "How does it fall? Do you drop things or do you feel weak or awkward?" He replied, "No, doctor. Actually, what happened is that when I am holding the cup, my hand jerks and it falls."